Well, the Israeli premier has warned against easing sanctions against Iran.
It would be a historic mistake to lift the pressure now, just before the sanctions reach their goal. And particularly now, we cannot give in and must keep up the pressure.
Netanyahu made the remarks a day before a fresh round of talks between Iran and the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council plus Germany. The two-day meeting, which begins in Geneva on Tuesday, will be the first such talks since Iran's President Hassan Rouhani took office in August. The West has welcomed Rouhani's overture, sparking Israeli fears of an easing of pressure on Tehran. Let's speak to author and journalist Mark Glenn, who joins us via Skype from Idaho to discuss this further. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Glenn. Now, Netanyahu has made no secret of his dissatisfaction with the way things are going with regards to Iran's nuclear file. There is also this concern right now about not just Israel's dissatisfaction, but also the pressure pro-Israeli lobbies are going to put on Congress and the Senate with regards to this. What do you think?
Well, I think it would be a mistake for us to assume for a moment that Netanyahu is just putting on here and that these are just empty words. Netanyahu is absolutely determined to see Iran destroyed in the same way that Iraq was destroyed, the same way Afghanistan and Libya have been destroyed, and the way Syria has, at least by proxy, been destroyed as well. The Iranian nuclear issue is just a red herring. If there were no Iranian nuclear program, Netanyahu would still be calling for sanctions and for the eventual destruction of Iran for the simple reason that Iran is the one player in the Middle East who can bring order to an otherwise chaotic situation. As far as the pro-Israel groups in the United States, I agree with you that they are going to do what they are magnetically inclined to do, which is to put pressure on elected members of Congress and the president. However, I don't know that they're going to be as successful in that regard as they have been in times past. I think that because the military and the intelligence services in the United States have stepped in, and they are using their own leverage in this regard, and they basically are telling the president, look, Russia has stepped into this thing. It's a different ball game. We can't go pushing Iran around, because if we do, we may wind up pushing Russia around, and Russia can push back. So there are counter pressures that are being brought to bear here, Connie, that at this point make the entire outcome of the situation basically just a big question mark.
Right, but Mr. Glenn, any possible deal that is with Iran and the five members of the UN Security Council plus Germany will have to be ratified by the U.S. Congress, which, as you've just mentioned, is in the pockets of such pro-Israeli lobbies.
Yes, but as I said, there are other pressures that are being brought to bear here. You know, for the last 2 or 3 months, the world has been inundated with stories about what the National Security Agency has been doing in spying on American citizens. Now, that includes members of Congress who no doubt have been caught in wiretaps, engaging in probably what was absolute espionage, unquestionable espionage, in giving aid and comfort to a foreign country, in this instance Israel. And the intelligence services of the United States, believe me, they are not happy about the fact that this kind of exposure has been brought to bear on their activities. Now, what I'm saying here is that President Obama, if he is cornered in such a way where you have these pro-Israel groups putting pressure on Congress, and it looks as though this momentum may turn in the opposite direction, it's very conceivable that he would have his intelligence services put pressure in the form of the threats of going public with some of these discussions that no doubt have been taking place between very important members of Congress and these pro-Israel groups.
Okay, we're going to have to wait and see how this pans out. Author and journalist Mark Glenn joining us from Idaho. Thank you very much for your comments here on Press TV.